Yeah, thankfully throwing pots at him does tempered sword level damage, so it just takes 2 pots to kill him. And it looks like we are now off.
And the uncle's name is Navi on this one, apparently. And we got some bombs anyway to start.
Now that's going to be very nice because they don't have to farm bombs in the back. Though, if Uncle gives them bombs, that first chest ends up being completely useless, unfortunately. So hopefully that isn't what they get from Uncle. Thankfully, I did not see Uncle carrying a sword as he left, so that means he should not have a sword. And Nyanasaur did a quick map check. I saw Hera was a 5/6 crystal, but I did not catch what the others were.
I didn't either. That went so fast on me, unfortunately. Hammer time.
All right, so the hammer is a nice weapon to get this early. It does the same amount of damage as tempered sword. The only issue with it is it's a little bit slower to swing than the swords are, and its hitbox is a little bit funky because Link uses it with his left hand. So as you're facing north, it'll be to the left side of the sprite. If you're aiming south, it's going to be a little bit to the right side of the sprite.
Yeah, it takes a little extra practice to get used to it. But the good news is, too, later on, once I get to the Dark World, they're going to be able to open up a lot of stuff right away. So that's also a good that's a good weapon to find in there.
Yes, yeah, because it is 1/3 of Dark World access, and assuming they find both the gloves and the Moon Pearl, unless there is something on Lumberjack Cave, they will not need to worry about Aghanim 1, because they will have access to all sides of Dark World.
Which is fantastic, and even if they don't have the mirror and they get the hook shot, they can take the back way into Hera too, which is a little extra added bonus. So we're getting some good rupees early on too. Rupees isn't a bad get at the beginning, so that's pretty good so far.
Yeah, especially because both of these racers, though they will probably get it through the multitude of chests that they're going to be able to access before the bottle vendor in Kakariko Village, they do generally want to have 100 rupees before they leave Kakariko so that they don't have to make that second trip just for the bottle vendor.
Yeah, you're going to want that at the very least, and then you're going to want to start thinking about, or at least if it's me, I start thinking about Zora pretty quick in there just because of the high rupee count.
And Chrouya making good use of that hammer to get the ball and chain guard down in just 2 clean hits. Admittedly, you can have your hammer just knock right off the ball and chain, and Nyanasaur right behind using a pot and hammer strat as well. A little bit slower, but not by much.
Oh, he's useful at the very least.
Meanwhile, Robo-Link is rescuing Zelda on Nyanasaur's side, while Luigi is saving a different princess this time.
Your princess is in the same castle. So with the bombs too, it's going to be nice to be able to check back of escape pretty quick here. So it's going to be exciting to see what's in there this time.
Yeah, admittedly, a lot of the times lately, at least in my runs, it hasn't had much, but there's always that time where if it has progression and you didn't find a bomb, it's really annoying to need to come back here. But thankfully, neither of these runners should need to worry about that.
No, absolutely not. It's always great when you can get it right in one go. And progression items, if it's there, they are going to be pretty happy.
And Chrouya getting the magic boomerang from the back of from sewers. It's a little bit laggy if you throw it on its own, but it still can be nice for being able to do things like stunning Gibdos or being able to hit some of the crystal switches.
And if they find out what the random stun item is, that may actually be really helpful in the long run.
Yeah, early game, they probably will want something like red rupees so that they can farm up Zora just as they go through the rest of the seed. Though late game, personally, I hope for something such as a single heart as the drop, because that allows me to recover if things start getting a little hairy. And looking like just a heart piece and a full heart container from the back sewers today.
Not really, not ideal, but it's always good to get some health in the early parts of the runs just because of how durable you are not during the early sessions, so...
Yep, especially if they have to do something like early Dark World or an early trip up to Death Mountain, because those boulders really hurt.
Speaking of hurt, though, bottle with red potion in it, so maybe they will have to go into Death Mountain and get smacked around by boulders. Who knows?
Yep, and thankfully that also will make the trip in Kakariko a little bit more efficient, because now they can show the sick kid their bottle, get whatever he's holding, and not have to wrap their way back. And it looks like Chrouya is making their way up towards the Lumberjack Cave, so we should be able to know... We'll have an idea whether or not we actually do need Aghanim or not. And looks like the level 2 tree pull was just 20 rupees, and Chrouya is actually deciding not to check Lumberjack Cave, just taking the north route through... north route through Lost Woods.
I've been seeing that as a strat lately by some players to just kind of skip it until until they absolutely have to check it. So it's an interesting strat, definitely.
Oh, certainly. It's just since you're basically all the way up there already, I would think taking the 3 seconds to check at that point would probably work out a little bit better, but we'll see how things go. And it looks like bush crabs are just 5 arrows this time.
We will see Lumberjack Ledge. Look like just an arrow upgrade there, so it may not... the chances of an Agaseed here are low now.
Yep, at this point, the only thing that would make it an Agaseed is not being able to find the Moon Pearl or not being able to find a glove upgrade.
And Chrouya checking Blind's Hut now.
Yep, there are 5 chests back here, and thankfully with those bombs, they will need to pick up a few more before they leave Kakariko. And there is that glove upgrade, so that's very nice. But they will want to pick up a few more because there are admittedly 3 bombable walls that they need to deal with bare minimum in Kakariko, potentially 4. And in addition to that, they also will want some for Southern Hyrule checks, such as a mini Moldorm Cave.
Yeah, definitely. There's still a chance, though, if they don't want to buy the bombs, they can always check by that set of bushes that looks kind of like the state of Oklahoma there. And I know there's a random chance of having a bomb there for the bomb hut, so that's a free option.
And we get the lamp, and the pearl. All right, so Chrouya could right now opt to go into Village of Outcasts rather than checking the rest of Light World. The question is whether or not they will opt to do that after finishing Kakariko, or will they go ahead and check the rest of Light World beforehand, simply to try to get things like maybe a sword or a little bit more effectively safety items. I'm also curious to see what Nyanasaur will end up deciding to do.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting having Dark World access in less than 10 minutes into the run, so that's pretty cool. I don't know about you. What would you do in this situation?
That's a tough call. With what they currently have, I would probably still go ahead and check at least Southern Hyrule, because there's the 2 chests in the dam and the 5 items at Mini Moldorm Cave. But it might be that I check just that and then either go see what is up on Spectacle Rock, or more likely, I would probably just go straight to Village of Outcasts at this point.
Looks like Sick Kid only had 20 rupees, so not a go. Probably what happens when you taunt the kid with medicine and don't give it to him, so.
Yep, but Chrouya finding boots in the back of the tavern. So if there is something on this library ledge, they're able to get that now as well, which means they effectively are completing all of Kakariko. And I did not see what that was. Was that a hook shot? That was indeed a hook shot. So they have a lot of options now.
That I have not seen before. That is interesting. I'm happy with the seed's generosity, but also questioning it at this point.
Yeah, we could either have a jet seed, or it could end up being one of those seeds where it looks super nice until you realize you need just one medallion or something, and you just take 2 hours to almost find that.
Yeah, because I had to see my first seed ended up having 2 progressive males, the Cane of Samaria, and the hammer all right away, and then I spent the longest time looking for stuff. And Chrouya checking bonk rocks now.
I suspect, based off of where they are, after they get this item, which unfortunately is just a piece of heart, but I'm guessing they're going up to Death Mountain next because they just got the hook shot, and now they can get over to Paradox Cave and get those. I think that ends up being about 9 or 10 items on that side of Death Mountain, and they can go into Harrow. So we may get our first crystal in just a few minutes here.
This is really interesting. I know I say that about a lot, but this is actually intriguing me even more, just the way this is going so fast so far.
Yep, and I'm curious if Nyanasaur ends up deciding to make the same play or routes a little bit differently, because as we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of options right now, and none of them are really bad options. Since it is so early in the seed, you need as much as you can get, and Chrouya getting yet another red potion, this time from the old man.
Still won't share it with the Sick Kid, but always good when your rocks keep falling on your head, so.
Yep, Chrouya was going for super speed, but unfortunately, if you get hit while in that state, it disables it temporarily. But they're getting it now that they're on top of Death Mountain and seeing just a piece of heart on top of Spectacle Rock, but what is inside?
It's a blue rupee, my goodness, the most useful item ever. Second most useful.
Second only to the single green rupee.
Bingo!
And admittedly, even the single arrow, you can potentially get use of it if you end up getting into the not often happening, but does sometimes occur situation of one arrow left to kill a boss, and that was the last one you used.
And Nyanasaur actually looking to jump right into the Dark World now. Interesting play. This is getting good. And we have a map check. I saw a red pendant at Turtle Rock.
Yep, and there was a green pendant in Skull Woods, and looks like Nyanasaur is going to go try to get the 2 items from Skull Woods first. That makes sense, especially because with the red boomerang, they can stun those Gyptos for the middle half of Skull Woods, so they can get everything except for the item that is, the item that's on Mothula and the item in the back chest. Hopefully they can get just the 2 items from right here. And unfortunately, I missed what was in Paradox Cave that Chrouya just went through.
Chrouya ended up finding the Titan's Mitt. I didn't see too much in the regular one, but Titan's Mitt, man, that's a good find right there.
Especially because they are already on Death Mountain. So it looks like they're going to be going to Harrow. Once they complete that, I suspect they're going to end up going to Dark Death Mountain, because with the hook shot, and access to it, that's another 7 easy chests that they can get. So this should work out well for them.
And Chrouya now in Tower of Hera. They're doing completely separate dungeons now. I say Skullwoods definitely isn't a bad call, though, because, I mean, not only is it short, but even if you do have to kill Mothula and get the green pendant, you can always take it to Sahasrara later and maybe get something of use.
Yep, and I missed it, but Nyanasaur is backing out without getting those the other chests, so they must have gotten both items from Skull Woods.
I didn't see what they were, unfortunately, but if that's the case, peace of mind. And Nyanasaur looking like they're doing the Death Warp now. No coffee break for Chrouya.
Admittedly, since it's so early on, I can understand not wanting to go for it, and killing that last tile with the boomerang is a little bit faster, admittedly.
Yeah, and with that one being such a time waster, you want to save every second you can. There's our big key now, so they do have to go into the basement.
Yep, and taking that full magic refill. They don't necessarily need any more magic, but it will potentially speed things up when they get the crystal, because they don't have to wait for their magic bar to refill at that point.
No, not at all.
And Nyanasaur making their way up to Death Mountain as well.
Always a good idea, especially early on, so you can get that check. You can unlock that checkpoint at least.
Definitely, because especially if they do end up finding the flute soon, the old man tends to be one of the better places to start from, because it is the fastest way to get a health refill and then flute to whatever location you need to.
Exactly, and even then, I mean, if you have to go to Ganon's Tower anyway, and don't have a flute or a mirror, that just helps you get right up there as well. Silver arrows right from Hera there.
Both items right here, so that's actually very nice. Does mean that Moldorm doesn't have an item, but with both of them found right now, it means once Moldorm is cleared, since we already went to the basement, this is a little bit moot, but once Moldorm is cleared, I suspect Chrouya will be in Dark Death Mountain. And Nyanasaur, I suspect, will be doing the same after they get their mitts and clear Moldorm.
Gotta wait until they get their mitts on it, though.
And Chrouya using the invisible sword to be able to just moonwalk while trying to aim for the tail with the hammer, and 3 hammer blows, and Moldorm is down for Chrouya.
That was a pretty solid Trolldorm fight there. I've seen the best of players end up falling, especially down that 2-floor hole, so it's always a relief when you can just kill it quickly and move on. And we have our first crystal about 18 minutes in. 18 and a half-ish. And
Chrouya?
just... Go ahead.
Was just saying he's checking the floating island, and it is just 20 rupees. The question is, will he be going into Spiral Cave? Because, yes, okay, he's doing Spiral Cave before going into Dark Death Mountain.
Smart. I do have to say, though, it'll be nice when the players get a sword, because then they can finally effectively use the glitch, especially with the hammer, with hammer picks, where you can use an item and dash all at the same time.
Yep, the reason they can't do that without the sword is when you dash with a sword, it puts you in an attacking state. And you have to be in that state when you item dash, or else it's just going to bonk you off the peg. It may hammer down one peg, but it is going to bounce you off unless you're in that attacking state.
I learned that the hard way in one of my first times with that. And Nyanasaur, a little sore that they probably have to go down to the basement, but it is what it is.
Yep, and Chrouya trying to get the hookshot glitch. Unfortunately, for the Super Bunny Cave, that is, I think, the most difficult location to get that hookshot clip to work. So, thankfully, it's a quick trip back up top, and now they will be seeing what the 2 items in Super Bunny Cave are.
Half magic and 300 rupees. 300 rupees not bad there because now, if they want to go check Zora, Chrouya can now. So,
yep, he's a little short, but he does have the Moon Pearl, so he could opt to fake Flipper and also get the Waterfall Fairy items as well.
Not a bad idea there either. And Nyanasaur taking a coffee break.
And it was Quake for Turtle Rock. Granted, Turtle Rock is one of our pendants, so we may not go in there. Admittedly, I think both of our racers are hoping that they don't get them, and Flippers are found in Hookshot Cave.
No fake flippering today for Chrouya.
Nyanasaur unfortunately taking a death, but they're making their way back up Tower of Hera and going to go get their revenge.
Thankfully, Tower of Hera is quick, so it's not too bad of a time loss at that point. And Chrouya checking King's Tomb now.
$300 more rupees, so Chrouya now has enough money for, with the exception of any potions they may need to buy, they have enough for all the NPC locations. They can pay Kiki off, they can pay Zora off, and they can play both of the games that give items.
Definitely nothing to worry about anymore. It is interesting that in the vanilla game itself, you only need about, I believe, 610 rupees to finish the game minimally, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if you're doing NMG strats. And chat pointing out, apparently Nyanasaur's death was actually a death warp from the basement, which I had missed. So I apologize for miscalling that. Unfortunately, they got a little trolled with the little spark ball, but they're still making good time through to Hera.
Ditto here. Sometimes it's hard to catch all the awesome action going on, but we do our best.
And Chrouya managing to get a bee in a bottle from the chess game.
Maybe we can make an Eddie Izzard joke at a boss. I don't know. And Nyanasaur about to go take on Moldorm as well, hoping for a good, clean fight. Commentator's curse.
Yeah, unfortunately, Moldorm without a sword can be very difficult, because thankfully, at least with a sword, you can hold it out, and as long as he doesn't hit you and tinks off of your sword, you can just hang on the ledge. But hopefully round 2 will go a lot smoother for him. And there's hit number 1 already, so... And number 2.
And there's a 20 rupee as one of the item chests in Thieves Town there for Chrouya. I didn't see it was in that first chest, unfortunately.
Neither did I, but Nyanasaur getting revenge on Trolldorm and getting their first crystal.
Heart container in Thieves Town too, and good first crystal, but almost 25 minutes in. Hey, not bad. think I saw another heart container in there too. So lots of love in Thieves Town.
Yep, so that first item must have been the big key that we missed. So there should only be one item left in here for them to get. So they have the hammer, so at this point is moot, but they may not need to worry about the big chest this time.
And this is probably around the time too that if I did have to fight blind at this point, I would want to have about 10 hearts or more, mainly because I personally still need a little practice, but it's always good to have some extra on blind just as insurance.
Yep, especially because most racers who have a script for blind generally have it for a sword. Hammer, it's going to be a little bit trickier because of the extra delay in the swing and the hitbox being a little bit smaller. Thankfully, though, they do have those 2 potions.
Absolutely. And I have seen a 6-heart hammer blind run that was successful, so it's definitely not out of the question. It's just difficult.
And there is our 4th item, so I suspect Chrouya will not be opening any more chests for this Thieves Town.
If I got a green rupee as my last item, I wouldn't be opening any chests out of spite.
Nyanasaur making their way through Super Bunny Cave, going to be getting their half magic, and I suspect their flippers after this, because they will most likely go into Hookshot Cave next. The one thing I do actually wonder, will they opt to go into Spike Cave? It technically is out of logic, as they do not have either the invincibility items, but they do have red potions.
That's a good call. I know as far as Nyanasaur goes, it's a little bit low on heart, so it is a possibility, but could go either way. That's a good thought.
To answer a question in chat, this tournament is being hosted both on Speed Gaming channels and the Link to the Past Randomizer channels. Because we have 256 different races each week. Admittedly, not all of them are restreamed. We do try to restream as many as we can, but because of how many there are, we stream between a mix of the 2 channel groups.
And now we have a blind fight. His optometrist said he had vision, so ironic? Blind is very near and dear to my pun-loving heart, so I love him in Randomizer.
Admittedly, he is the main puns that most people see while running through, though I believe the Tavern Keep also does a pun. And Chrouya using a red potion just to make sure they don't die before getting that last hit on blind, and being rewarded with a compass and their 2nd crystal.
Better to use it and not need it than to need it and not use it, so...
Yep, and Nyanasaur doing the Southern Hyrule check, so far getting a heart container out of the dam, and also managed to use the hookshot glitch to be able to do both opening of that first chest and and emptying of the reservoir. They now look like they're going to be making their way to Mini Moldorm, and I am wondering whether or not they will check Ice Rod Cave after this, or are they going to go to Zora's Domain, because they do have enough money and they do have those flippers.
That's a good call. When I play it, I kind of end up doing it all at once, but in an actual race, it may not be something I do. It depends on my items. And Chrouya getting the blacksmith, who's feeling a little froggy.
Yep. While Chrouya is checking Southern Dark World with the blacksmith, which does make sense. They do not have the mirror yet, so they can't just mirror back, but when they save and quit, the frog will come with them into the light world. Nyanasaur managed to find blue mail in Mini Moldorm Cave. Unfortunately, it didn't look like they got anything else of note, but they are also swimming over to Ice Rod Cave.
Definitely a faster way of going about it. Blue mail at the very... Oh, hey, well, I was wrong in my faster part.
Yeah, admittedly, usually going with boots is faster, but it looked like they were considering going into Zora and then decided to double-check Ice Rod Cave because they're here. And I can understand that decision, because you may not come back here, and it's better to get it out of the way and out of mind. Unfortunately, it was just a quiver upgrade, and it did not... there was actually one very important thing in Hype Cave. Chrouya getting the Master Sword.
Sword and sword. Game, set, match. I love it.
So today, Hype Cave has lived up to its namesake.
And we are getting a pyramid check as well. Good pyramid check.
That is a bow. So with that, if Chrouya didn't have the blacksmith behind him, they could immediately go into pod right now. But since they have the blacksmith, it looks like they're going to finish doing the entire chain and making their way up to, the Quakefish.
If Catfish has an item and Nyanasaur hasn't checked it, yeah, definitely a good call on that one, because it could be a while before Nyanasaur routes that in.
Yep, though if Nyanasaur manages to get the mirror from one of these checks, they will be able to route a little bit more efficiently. So we'll see what they get at Zora's Domain, unless Chrouya gets it right here. Which, nope, instead of being Quake, the Catfish is giving the Bombos medallion today.
Definitely bombastic. Now, I don't remember, I think, Ice Palace is a crystal, so that's, I think that's a possibility right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. Thankfully, for our racers, both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock are pendant, so unless they need to start searching for progression items, they will probably be able to avoid it, and looks like just the 10 bomb drop on the Zora ledge. Though Nyanasaur did pick up powder, I missed if that was the hobo or if that was from the Waterfall Fairy.
And the most expensive bombs in the world. So yeah, powder from Waterfall Fairy. Hobo haven't been checked yet, so that's gonna have to see what our friend has there.
I do think Nyanasaur did check it. Unfortunately, I was distracted by seeing what Chrouya was getting at the time, so I did miss it, though Chad is saying that it was a heart piece. So, and Millie, Chad also pointing out, we may be very close to Go Mode already.
That is something else right there. I mean, we're 33 minutes in and almost at a Go Mode. That's pretty good for these players.
Yeah, because at this point, they need the mirror to get into Swamp Palace. And I'm trying to double check the only other item they would need is either flute or book. And both racers checked back as Sahasrahla at the same time and got Kane, apparently.
Phantom Ryu would be going nuts right now.
Now, this is an interesting sync. Unfortunately, Nyanasaur has not checked the pyramid yet, so they do not have their bow. So Chrouya will be able to go through and full clear Eastern Palace, and then go and get Pod done, while Nyanasaur is going to have to back out of here and at some point make their way to the pyramid.
That's always hard, as we as commentators know where it is, but they as players don't. So that's always that can always be a hard watch from this end.
To answer a question in chat, to be able to get into the right side of GT, you require the red cane to be able to push down the button to even gain access to it. And though you can bomb jump to get the torches, that's generally something people do not practice because it is effectively a 1% edge case that you end up needing that.
One of the Eastern Palace items only being a red rupee, so we got 2 more to find.
Chrouya using those silver arrows effectively. Most racers will do, admittedly, like what Nyanasaur is doing here, of pick up a pot and try to have it where it spawns just 2 of the Stalfos to be able to kill them. Or skeletons, I'm sorry. Stalfos are the ones that you require the bombs on. But that was a good use of items that they have for Chrouya there.
Those Stalfos didn't even appear. That was you couldn't get any clean with Mr. Clean. So, wow. And we're going to see what's in the vanilla big key chest. Just bombs.
And I missed if they got the compass or not. If they didn't, then that does mean Armos will have the last item.
Well, which is good because I get to take care of Armos anyway. And having the silvers always makes for some fun, quick, clean fights.
And chat correcting me, apparently those skeletons are indeed Stalfos. It's just the ones in Ice Palace that you bomb, and that also appear, I believe, in Ganon's Tower, are actually Stalfos Knights.
The other ones just flunked out of night school. Beautiful, clean kills on the room before the Armos Knights, and now we have Armos Knights.
Meanwhile, Nyanasaur is going over to Hype Cave, so they'll be getting their Master Sword, and hopefully they will make their way up to Pyramid after this to be able to get their bow.
I hope so too, because might be a little sore in finding the bow there, but at least relieved to find it to clear out Eastern Palace. No pun intended at that time.
Yep, and looks like Chrouya is making their way to the Dark World entrance, I'm guessing, down here. So they will be I'm assuming they're heading to Pod next.
Good call too, because Pod has always been one of those places to me that I've almost always seen some progression item in it, whether it's been a pendant or a crystal dungeon. So I'm actually pretty hyped to see what's in Pod right now.
Yep, and thankfully for Nyanasaur, they are indeed making their way to the pyramid, so they will be getting their bow, and both of these racers may actually be in Pod at about the same time.
Interesting how it's syncing up already like this. This is pretty cool.
And with 100 rupees to weigh Kiki down, Chrouya now has opened up Pod. So let's see what is in here, because they have everything they need to full clear this dungeon.
And luckily, since they do have the bow, they don't need to use the a certain glitch in order to bypass the Goria room.
And just a small key in the first chest, so I wonder if they will go to the bowlock side next, or will they just immediately go into the back? I personally would probably go into the bow side just to get those chests out of the way, and it looks like that's what Chrouya is doing as well. Alright, so this lets them get the 2 chests over here out of the way, and then immediately be in the center room of Palace of Darkness. So that will end up working quite nicely for Chrouya.
Nice clean kill of the Gorias there.
And nice dash up that hallway. If you end up going to the right and dashing just shortly after you get there, you can almost go all the way up without needing to worry about the spikes until the last one, when you just move a little bit to the left to get out of the way. And that looked like Chrouya got the ice rod.
Not necessarily required, but I've seen many matches get trolled by that ice rod, so always a nice find.
And the book. So they now have access to Desert Palace, and they made nice use of the boots to be able to bypass going around the circle. For some reason, in that area, you can, oddly enough, do that bonk to jump up a level of the dungeon. I'm not exactly certain why it works, but it is very nice and convenient when you can do it.
A little bit of a tricky time for Nyanasaur there, but getting a full magic never hurts, even if you have it at full. Always a good insurance. But yeah, with that ice run book, and we still have 3 more items to find in here, so what we gonna find?
These racers are probably hoping they find the mirror. Or, honestly, the mirror would be the best thing for them to find. Getting the flute wouldn't be bad either, since it will let them traverse a little bit faster. But... And those beetles were being a little annoying for both of our racers. Nyanasaur making good use of that bonk as well, while Chrouya is... It looks like they're going to be doing the hammer jump, actually.
This is a tricky one to pull off, but when you pull it off, it looks beautiful.
Yep, it's effectively two perfect Y-axle pixels that you have to first place the bomb on, and then place yourself on, and then you get blasted through the wall, as just happened with Chrouya. Though I'm curious as to why they chose to do it this way, since they don't have the big key yet. In a mode such as Key Sanity, this play makes perfect sense because it saves you a key, but in standard and open modes, you are guaranteed to have access to all the keys that you'll need for the dungeon. So unfortunately, they may have to come back through here, though it looked like they got 2 more items from those chests, I think.
That's what it looked like. One of them was just 50 rupees, and I don't think the other one was super valuable either. But I think it might have been just a kind of a quick gamble to, in case the big key was actually there for some reason. There it is.
All right, so we are 1 item away with 2 item locations left for Chrouya. And they are making their way back through the dark maze to get to that big key chest, which that does make sense because you don't... You don't want that to be weighing on your mind. Unfortunately, they don't have the mirror, so they won't be able to quickly get out of here, but they may opt to try to death warp since all those Kodos are around and they do hurt. Nyanasaur unfortunately getting trolled by those beetles again, though.
Boy, those beetles just are not being nice to him this time. Wow.
Admittedly, what Nyanasaur could do at this point is if they just went out of this room from the south and came back, that red beetle would go back to their spawn location and they could make their way through. Instead, they're opting to take a little bit of fury out at the red beetle and kill him with swords bonks, and they are now making their way to the back of Pod.
Yeah, those red beetles are always a pain too because they always take so many hits. And nice dash hammer on the skull pots from Chrouya there.
Another fast, clean mimic room. Nyanasaur getting their big key. Since they didn't do the bomb jump, they will be saving a little bit of time over Chrouya in this dungeon because they won't have to do the dark maze twice. The only issue is since they have blue mail, they won't be able to get out of it necessarily as easily.
And we'll see what the other item was in just a moment. Again.
And very clean, very clean turtle room from Chrouya. That room can get to be a little unruly if you don't know a nice, fast way to do it.
It's very dicey, very quick, especially if you don't have a lantern either. I mean, you can open one of those, but yeah. And now we have Helmasaur King. Hello, Helmasaur King. How are you today?
And Nyanasaur using their Death Warp to get to the front, while Chrouya takes a few shots but manages to kill Helmasaur with a silver arrow to that gem. And they get a quiver upgrade, but also their fourth crystal.
So we'll call it the official halfway point with crystals, since it's kind of hard to do a halfway with an odd number. So we'll call it that.
Yep, we are still just one item away from Go Mode, though. Once they find that mirror, they have everything that they, in theory, need. That fire rod could be a problem if the key is in one of those last 4 chests on the right side of Ganon's tower. But if they're lucky, they won't need to find it, or they'll find it just through regular happenstance all along the way. And Chrouya is now checking the mini Boldorm caves, though it looked like he ended up skipping the reservoir, so I'm guessing he'll be making his way over to that after this check and probably heading into Desert Palace along with getting these checks.
Either that, or if he doesn't, could be waiting for Swamp. But I would place my bet on the way over to Desert.
Yeah, well, admittedly, without that mirror, they can't check Swamp yet, so...
Depends on how long you want to put that one off, I guess.
And Nyanasaur making quick work of those turtles as well, and they are on their way towards Helmasaur King.
Not quite successful in getting that chest the first time, but that's okay. And good old chip away strats too from Nyanasaur. You can use bombs, but that one is a lot harder.
Yeah, because it also relies a little bit on the RNG of where Helmasaur goes. And just like with Chrouya, unfortunately 2 misses, but the third silver arrow finds its mark, and with that, Nyanasaur has their second crystal.
And just a red rupee on the desert ledge there.
And I hadn't noticed this before, that the Luigi sprite's praying sprite is apparently him just taking a rest and taking a sip of coffee or tea or something.
Hey, we had a coffee break at Harry. You don't need another one. No, I don't think Chrouya... Actually, no, I think Chrouya did it the hard way. So, okay, coffee break earned.
And it looks like Nyanasaur is also making their way over to Desert. This makes sense since they did just get the the book. So this is the dungeon that Pod did open up for them. They will eventually have to go back to Eastern Palace and clear out Thieves Town like what Chrouya did.
But not too bad. But right now, I would suspect they're checking for the 2 items in Desert. Low chance of mirror, but hey, with Randomizer, you never know. And my first shield there for Chrouya and bomb. So that's all the items that Desert has for us today.
Yep. And Nyanasaur did check Agina's cave. I didn't see what it was, but it didn't look like it was the mirror. So, admittedly, after Desert, I suspect Chrouya will be going into Ice Palace, since that is the next crystal dungeon that they can clear since they have Bombos. Nyanasaur, however, will have to do a different route since they didn't go up to Catfish, so they don't have Bombos yet. And without Bombos or Fire Rod, they can't get into Ice Palace. But I suspect they'll probably go check Thieves Town.
Wouldn't surprise me. And Agina's cave just had 10 arrows, so nothing really of note.
To answer chat, unfortunately, this isn't a mirrorless go mode. We do require the mirror for Swamp Palace. But once we have the mirror, these racers will be in theoretical go mode, just as long as the right side of Ganon's tower does not hold the big key.
Yeah, because that's one you're really gonna have the Fire Rod for. That one is a pain in the butt on that right side.
Yep, and admittedly, the torches before the 2 mini Helmasaur spike room is a little annoying to do with the lamp, but it is doable with the lamp without any logic breaks.
That was a clean land mullahs fight right there. Beautiful from Chrouya.
Yep, Chrouya making good use of these silver arrows, because most bosses that are susceptible to arrows die from just 1 silver arrow hit. The primary exception to this being Vitreous, whereas technically it takes 10 because you need 8 for the small eyes and then 2 for the big eye.
But it's always satisfying to watch Vitreous go down that quick. That's a little thing I call clear eyes. Go so fast, you go, wow. And let's see, where to now? I'm guessing an ice palace.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Looks like they're going to be checking the bridge camper, aka the hobo, and they may actually do Zora's domain first, because, to be fair, Master Sword Ice Palace can be dangerous.
I've had my fun at Cole's Stair with a few hearts and Master Swords, so I can attest to this. Hobo just says, thanks for visiting with a little love. So if I'm not mistaken, too, with Chrouya entering Ice Palace, but having no bearing on it, I think we have both of our red crystals now, too.
Yep, that's what it looks like. Yeah, when he brought up the item menu. So we do have Pyramid Fairy in the logic.
Could be there, too. That might be interesting.
And Amelia, as we were saying earlier, this seed is looking like it is overall a fairly generous seed, but that mirror seems to be what the seed decided to be as the troll item.
Oh, there's our mirror.
As I start mentioning that is the troll item, Chrouya finds it, and with that, Chrouya is in effectively no mode. They may be able to go through Swamp Palace as though it is go mode, but they may opt to still get chests, because if right side Ganon's Tower has the big key, they will need that fire rod.
I might anyway. I may check. I may not check left side depending on how confident I feel, but it's definitely Chrouya's call in the end whether he wants to take that gamble or not.
Yep, and admittedly, checking the chest, checking the bombable wall chest, the southern chest, and anything on their way to Arcus may also yield a tempered sword, which would be very nice for them.
Oh yeah, because the difference in Master and Tempered Sword is good enough to warrant wanting to get, so...
Yep, especially because Master Sword slashes. Despite it being the Sword of Evil's Bane, Ganon takes no damage from slashes from the Master Sword. And Nyanasaur checking Bomb Fairy, so we will be able to see what they find here. We know it won't be the mirror, but if it's the fire rod or a sword upgrade, that could still help Nyanasaur out a lot.
Plenty of things that can still help, even though not in go mode, so we'll see.
Yep, and Chrouya checking chests along the way, it looks like, for Ice Palace. But okay, yeah, they're doing the, if it's in my way, I will check it. Otherwise, I'm going to effectively go mode these dungeons.
And a refill of magic and a red mail for Nyanasaur. The other chest only having a blue rupee, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate, though. That red mail may help them out because it'll let them do a little bit riskier strats on some bosses and not need to necessarily worry about taking as much damage.
Yeah, it's not something you quite want to see, but at the same time, it's not something you're going to be bummed to have. So.
Yep, and thankfully with this, they are taking the time to go up to see Catfish, it looks like, so they will get Bombos and have access to Ice Palace.
So let's see if this practice on Cold Stare before we started today is going to pay off for Chrouya here.
With the Master Sword, it does make more sense to use spins rather than the hammer because, again, the hammer's hitbox is deceptive at times. It's at times smaller than you think it is, and also bigger than you think it is at times. But Master Sword spins do the same amount of damage, and you can always just slash away like Chrouya is doing now, because they do take damage from Master Sword slashes.
Chrouya getting a key, Nyanasaur getting Bombos.
And with that, Chrouya has their 6th crystal. So they will likely be making a direct line over to Swamp Palace.
And I think Nyanasaur might be taking a direct line to Ice Palace, which will be generously rewarded.
Yep. Nyanasaur, once they go into Ice... Oh, they're
maybe
going
not. Finish off Eastern. That's right. That's right.
All right, that I can understand that, because they are probably thinking, I want to go mode Ice Palace, because as we saw with Chrouya, being able to go mode it, or even mostly go mode that dungeon, is so much faster than trying to actually visit the rest of it. Because Chrouya was able to spend maybe, I think, 2-3 minutes tops in there, and they skipped about 2/3 of that dungeon.
Yeah, that's not a dungeon that you really want to full clear if you can honestly help it, just because it takes so long. So that's a good point. Though I wouldn't be surprised to, honestly, if Chrouya did check a couple of things in Swamp, where it does have 6 potential items in it, so could have the fire rod he's looking for.
Or even the 3rd sword upgrade.
3rd sword upgrade never hurts. And a compass for the problem, so,
Not what they're looking for yet. Admittedly, that is the one issue with the 4 chests that Chrouya is checking. It is possible that they only get a single non-dungeon item out of this. Well, I guess 2 once you count Argus, but hopefully they can find something that'll make things a little bit faster for them. If not, I suspect they, based off of how Chrouya's been playing, I'm going to guess they may be comfortable with Master Sword Ganon.
Yeah, because I believe if on the right side is kind of a little bit of a lower chance for as well Ganon's Tower too if they don't find the fire rod. So.
Yep, and what I think Chrouya might do in there is they may just still check those 2 first chests and then skip all of right side until, if they don't find the big key on the left side, hopefully they'll be hoping to find the fire rod on the left side, and honestly they'll probably even check Tile Room before bowing out of Ganon's Tower at that point, unless of course they find it in these next few chests. To answer chat, the Ganon's Tower Big Key could be in one of 22 different chests in Ganon's Tower. There are 4 chests that are effectively locked behind requiring the fire rod, unless you're either good at hovering or know a bomb jump that most racers do not practice because it is a incredibly rare situation that it ever comes up. But if the big key ends up being in one of those 4 chests, they would need to know one of those. They would either need the fire rod to be able to gain access to it, or know one of those two alternative strategies. And both of those strategies are difficult, admittedly, with hovering being the more difficult of the two.
And now we have Argus, which thankfully not a menu fight, but it's still going to take a few more hits than normal just because of the Master Swords, so... Not bad, though, since Argus is kind of a breather boss at this point.
Yep, and it looks like Nyanasaur is going back towards Kakariko. I'm guessing they're going to go ahead and finish up... I thought they were going to finish up Thieves Town. They might actually be seeing what's on the pedestal.
Interesting call. I was going to say before we found the mirror, wouldn't it be trolly if the mirror was on pedestal, but I don't even know how viable that would have been. And there's our fire rod.
All right, and with that, we have true go mode for Chrouya.
Kind of interesting. All of the items they needed have been really just about right on the way this time. This is this almost seems rare.
Yeah, this could, at this point for Chrouya, this could be a sub 130 seed. And for those of you who are familiar with randomizer tournament races, at this point there is a special game that ends up being done. Unfortunately, as we are not on the speed gaming channel, we don't have any leaderboards. However, Ganon's Tower Big Key can be in one of 22 chests. Place your guess is in chat of where you think it is going to be, based off of the order of chests that Chrouya ends up checking.
Oh goodness, and they are already doing that, let me tell you. They are out for blood with their guesses. What do you think it's in, Carb?
Well, for the last 2 weeks, I've been using the strategy of today's date. So, 22. I'm going to guess it's going to be the tile room, which is generally chest 22.
Oh, I was gonna guess that one as well, so I might as well, I always base it off how generous a seed has been to them. I'm gonna guess 20 since you guessed 22.
That's fair. If Chrouya does the right side first, that would place it in locked behind Ice Armos.
Yeah, my thing is generous seed, trolley Ganon's Tower Key. Nice use of invincibility frames with the little there. That was gorgeous looking.
Yep, because just like Ganon, the Lionels do not take damage from Master Sword level sources.
And maybe if Chrouya is lucky too, he'll come across Tempered Sword upgrade here.
Hopefully. Meanwhile, Nyanasaur is checking hammer pegs. They're doing overworld checks, it looks like, to try to find that mirror. They find the Ether Medallion, though. And chest number 1. It was chest... Oh, this seed is the most generous thing ever.
This is kind of like the generous aunt who always bakes you like cookies and gives you big kisses whether you want them or not.
I must admit, I'm jealous of these racers. I want this seed.
Just don't go Varrook Assault on them and then we'll be good. So, if you are one of the nice ones in the chat to guess number 1, congratulations! You are winner. A winner is you. Unfortunately, we can't keep track of it, but from me, you earn kudos points. What do they earn from you, Carb?
Just congratulations, because you rarely see people actually guess chest number 1, at least from my experience.
I'll guess it if the seed has been trolly to them, but other than that, no, I'm not going to guess that.
And with that, Chrouya is making their way up through the gauntlet.
Looking back on this, though, I cannot believe I can't get over how nice the seat has been to them. I mean, Ganon's Tower, a little over an hour in, that's something else right there.
Yep, and Chrouya using that bonk to be able to get into this safety room, which has 2 fairies, and if he needed it, there is full magic in that southern skull. Admittedly, the existence of that room is the sole reason why boots alone are allowed to give you access into Misery Mire.
And thankfully, having the extra fares is going to be really good insurance, only having 11 hearts for Ganon. Because if you're not prepared for Ganon, Ganon is trouble.
Yeah, especially with only having Master Sword. Thankfully, it's going to be silvered Master Swords, so they don't have to worry about getting, I think it would be 24 spins if it was silverless.
Thankfully, yes. They don't have to worry about that at all.
And everyone, if you are enjoying this race, please give the racers a follow and take a look at them when they end up running other things on Twitch.
Absolutely, follow the runners. They've been doing a fantastic job, and I can't stress that enough. I mean, even with the seed being generous, their execution and playstyle has been very good, especially with Chrouya here. I mean, this is just so clean right now. Could nickname himself Bleach at this rate, the way he's cleaning stuff up.
Oh, forgetting that first torch, that upper torch. Thankfully, with the fire rod, they may still be able to make this in time.
And Chrouya does. But it's always a bummer when the door closes right in your face. You don't like a rude door.
Admittedly, I'd rather have the door close on my face than close with me right there, because then you get locked, and I think you actually have to save and quit.
I've never actually had that happen to me. That's even worse. Ouch.
It's one of those one-frame gotchas, just like if you go up those stairs right as the door ends up closing, it despawns the sprites in this upper floor, and you then have to do the entire gauntlet again.
Oh, that is an ugly, lame situation. Ugly. Ugly like that Moldorm.
Thankfully, it is just 3 Master Sword spins, just like 3 hammer blows earlier to get Moldorm down. But this time, Chrouya can make use of the fact that they have a sword that they do not need to, and the second Moldorm is down.
Oh, there's our flute. Hey, we can't have a randomizer without a trolly item trolling us, and that's our flute. Right where they need it most. Pardon, I need to clean up all the dripping sarcasm off of my face. I think that was a double on Aga there.
That was another double. So I think one more hit at this point? Nope. It was another double needed, but with that, Agnum 2 is down. So I've never actually been here with an unactive flute. But, of course, the game doesn't care. This is a cutscene.
Cutscene power to the max.
Now Chrouya has to do Master Sword Ganon. It is going to take 12 spins per phase to advance into the next one for Chrouya. But he got a nice double spin there, bouncing off of the trident.
Always a good lucky thing right there. I mean, this is pretty time consuming, so that shortening is always good.
And with that, Chrouya is on to phase 2.
Hopefully the fire bats won't drive him batty.
Ooh, they do have all those fairies, so they don't have to be super careful, thankfully. But I think one more hit from the bats may end up making them need to use those fairies.
Gorgeous dodging, but a bat wanted to sneak in right at the end and say hi.
That one was out for blood, unfortunately, but thankfully Chrouya did pick up a few fairies. And unfortunately, Nyanasaur has a forfeit. They are having some technical problems that unfortunately seems to have caused their PC to reset.
Oh, that is a bummer. Unfortunate for Nyanasaur. I am sorry to hear that. But yeah, with Chrouya, we're definitely getting a sub hour and a half run. So it's still fantastic all the way through.
Chrouya getting the torch glitch. Don't really need it with half magic, but it is helpful.
The less you have to play around with lighting the torches, the better. Especially when both torches go out and then Ganon's at the bottom waiting for you. Oh, we got a sub hour 20 right here from Chrouya. Amazing work. Beautiful execution. Good game to Chrouya, who finishes just around an hour, 17 minutes, or they're shy of.
Yep, their official speedracing.tv time is 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 58 seconds.
Even without the, I mean, no matter what, I mean, you got to be really happy with that kind of a time right there. That's incredible. I do hope though that Nyanasaur does pick it up, pick up the seed just for fun and kind of finishes it off. Just because I kind of would like to. I kind of wish I would know what the time was, but I hope they're able to finish it off at some point. I do have to wonder though if Chrouya or if Nyanasaur gets a chance, if they'd be willing to join us for a little bit.
To answer chat, Mir was the first chest in Ice Palace.
And I think Nyanasaur does want to join us, so we'll see if we can get him in there.
And we have Chrouya joining us for the interview first. Chrouya, congratulations.
Thanks. What an amazing seed.
Oh, I know. It's just handing everything to you like a generous aunt with cookies and love.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like the breadcrumbs. There were just too many of them. Someone should be more how do you say it, efficient with eating, because the breadcrumbs led everywhere.
Ever had a seed like that before in your practice?
It's really been a while, so I'm actually in a really good mood. Oh man. Yeah, it was just everything was on the way. I did grab the smithy. That cost me a little bit of time because I had to deliver him, but otherwise, yeah, that was amazing. Like, I'm very much a person that goes dungeon first, and it paid off.
Yep, and we also now have Nyanasaur also joining us for post-game interview. Nyanasaur, good race, and sorry to hear about what ended up happening.
Thank you, GG, by the way.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah, sorry that happened to you. That was still going pretty good there for you. How are you feeling with the seed anyway?
Just what happened was I was just racing and my entire game just froze, and I thought that it was just the actual emulator, but it was just my computer.
Oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that, because I thought you were doing really good there right up until that happened.
Yeah, I thought that this seed was really, really good, but it was pretty straightforward. But what I like to do is I like to do overworld first, and then I'll do dungeons and that. Yeah, thank you.
When did it happen? Sorry, enlighten me. Sorry.
It happened a little bit before you went into Ganon's tower, I believe.
Yeah, I wasn't really looking at the chat. I was just trying to finish fast. I was in a good pace, so yeah. Man, that sucks when that happens.
Yeah, admittedly, Nyanasaur, you were just a mere away, really, from being able to full clear everything else.
Yeah, I was just looking for a mirror, and I was gonna go to Thieves Town, but
Is that where you were thinking the mirror was, or were you thinking it was maybe somewhere else?
I was thinking that the mirror was in Thieves Town because I put off Thieves Town for so long, and that's just what I was thinking.
Yeah, I can see that being a fair assumption.
Yeah, I had the feeling that Fire Rod was in ice, because there was going to be progress in ice, because you were given the hammer, of course, and Bombos was the only type like metal you'd have for the whole beginning. No other Fire Rod or ice. Well, you got Ice Rod, I guess. I know it led me to believe that there was something in ice, and then I got the mirror, and I was like, technically, I don't need anything else. I'll just grab some few chests on the way.
Actually, with that, just curious, how would you have reacted if the Ganon's Tower Big Key ended up being on the far right side past those torches, as opposed to the very first chest that you ended up opening?
Oh, right. Yeah, so nice big key location. I was worried about that before grabbing the fire rod from Argus, but in my opinion, it's always worth, if you can go to Ganon's Tower, to clear Ganon's Tower and hope to find, well, the big key before getting to the right side. And well, if it happens, then well, you're basically out of luck. But then probably the other person is fully clearing any other dungeon, so you're not really missing that much time, except for like another climb to Ganon's Tower, I feel.
Yeah, I can see that. Just out of my own personal curiosity, Nyanasaur, you think you'll pick this back up anyway, just to clear it, just for kind of getting revenge on Computer Free's sake?
I Probably will. I mean, this is a really good seed. I thought it was really good.
You'll be surprised when you open the last chest possible in Ganon's Tower. It's a nice one.
Yeah, admittedly, it was also great watching both of you. After Kakariko, you both ended up taking different paths. Chrouya, you ended up making your way up to Death Mountain, but Nyanasaur ended up doing the early Dark World play there.
Oh, okay.
Yet, despite that and a few other points where as you guys re-diverged, you guys were both in Eastern at the same time, and then you were pretty close to being in Pod at the same time, and then Desert as well. From there is where you guys really split apart again.
Right. Because I still went dungeon first, so I dipped right into ice.
Always fun to see where those near high-fi always comes back and diverges. So I think even just looking back on this, like if it gets uploaded again, it's going to be interesting to see yourselves play it.
With that, Nyanasaur or Chrouya, any final thoughts on the race or the tournament?
I don't think so. I think this is, like, I'll definitely replay this, see what happens.
Sorry that you weren't able to sing the Swag Duck song.
Where was Flute, by the way?
It's a secret.
Chad, don't spoil it for him. I guess my last quick question is, and I got this from a friend of mine, for both of you, what's one thing you learned or you take away from doing this run here?
Alright, so I made a stupid mistake, which I will try to not do next time. I hammer jumped at Pod without having the big key. I keep doing that because you do that in glitched categories of speedrunning. But I just tap the chest and it's like, nope. So I'll avoid that for next time. Otherwise, I don't know. This one was pretty linear.
I like I said, I like to do overworld first, and that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's something that I really need to work on, I think.
Well, excellent. And even from the most linear and the easygoing of runs, you can always learn something. I know I am. And Carb, I'm guessing you take away some things too.
Oh yes, definitely. Well, with that, everyone, again, thank you to our racers, Chrouya and Nyanasaur. If you've enjoyed watching them, please give them a follow and see what other things they end up streaming on Twitch. I've been Liminality Carb, and my co-host, the other Rick. Thank you very much for commentating with me. And I'd also like to thank Hanson for being our restreamer, and Remiel Gaming for doing the tracking for us.
They've all done a fantastic job, and I want to shoot my kudos out to both Remiel Gaming and Hanson too. Very nice job. I also thank you, Mr. Liminality Carb, for being my co-host. It was great to work with you again. I think you were a tracker for one of my other ones, so that's why I do say again.
Yep, it was a pleasure.
And if you've... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and everyone else, there are still more races going on for round 2. Today is the last day, but keep an eye on Speed Gaming channels 1 through, I think we're up to 1 through 8 now, and ALTTPR or ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 4 as the rest of today and for the next, I believe, 5 more weeks. This tournament Swiss round will keep on going on, so give the channels a follow if you have enjoyed watching the race, and continue watching more randomizer races.
Absolutely. There's gonna be another one at 6 p.m. for your next one with Miria-chan versus Mal, I believe. Molly, I apologize for name butchering. And there's also going to be another one at 8:30 and then plenty at 9. So you're going to be getting your randomizer fixed tonight, definitely.